What's up, crypto junkies? It's Jay and welcome to this video. In this video we're going to talk about Bitcoin and really its price potential. Now, I'm sure lately you've been seeing a lot of people talking about, man, it's going to get to 100,000, it's going to get to 10,000 again, it's going to get to 35,000, 50,000. You've heard all these wild numbers. Winklevoss twins think it's going to get even higher than that. We got Mike Novogratz is really bullish on it. We've got John McAfee. He's going to chop off one of his nuts or something if it doesn't get to a certain price. There's a lot more at play here than what people realize. First off, this is very early on for crypto. And we know that by many things. We know that by the fact that the total market cap has only reached 600, 700 billion total. That's not that much in reality and in comparison to other markets. Okay, right now I'm on coinmarketcap.com and Bitcoin itself, the last 24-hour volume is 6 billion. 6 billion is not a small business per se, but it's like a regular Fortune 500 company does billions of dollars a year. So this is no different than a larger sized company running and operating right now. That is not substantial in relationship, right? In terms of overall size, it's not that substantial. Let's also look at the fact that Bitcoin itself right now is still fighting the stigma of being called a Ponzi, being called a bubble, because there's nothing behind it, which this argument's always fascinated me. And when I was brand new into the marketplace and people were calling things like BitConnect a Ponzi and all these investment programs that would pay you out a certain percentage per day Ponzi and bullshit, my first thought was, well, wait a second, the whole market's still facing that, right? I never really understood that. I do now, and a lot of these have revealed themselves to be in fact Ponzi's, but nonetheless the whole market right now is facing that. So that also leads to an unstable market. Like right now, if you look in the marketplace, it's predominantly against itself, right? You have people arguing day in and day out about which indicators work the best. Elliott Wave doesn't work as good as this one. Day trading is bullshit. Sit on and hold it. This coin is a scam coin and this one isn't. So the whole market is against itself right now. There's really little unity within the market. You have Roger Ver attempting what appears to be a hostile takeover of Bitcoin by calling Bitcoin Cash Bitcoin. He owns a lot of the main Bitcoin Twitter accounts and the bitcoin.org and bitcoin.com. A lot of people are confused as to what even the real Bitcoin is. What do we have? We have a lot of people who have early on came into this, even though Bitcoin's been around now since what, 2009, essentially scammed. A lot of people that are in this market right now are scammers, right? Whether they're on the run from some other thing that fell apart, or this is just where they're sinking their claws into. Right now, there's a ton of scammers in crypto, and that's true for a lot of new markets. A lot of new markets, when they first come out, they'll go through a cycle of having people come in and just essentially cash grab. And there's a ton of people doing that in crypto. There's a ton of people that are running ICOs, that are running different various projects, exchanges that are in fact just cash grabbing, right? And again, morally, whatever, you might have your beliefs on that, but I'm just trying to stay at the surface level and point out what's going on. So we've got a marketplace that's still relatively new. It's small and there's very little unity in it. Against itself, 9 out of 10 times the community. We have a ton of people just in it to cash grab. That is a very immature market still in comparison, okay? And if we look at the bigger things that are at play, the reason why I do a lot of the things that I do, understand that a lot of things that I'm talking about, there's a method to this madness. There's longer term plays that I'm banking on and assuming at play here. I think that the cryptocurrency market, it's not ready for a lot of the opportunities that have come and gone, okay? How long did it actually take digital currencies to get up off the ground, right? How long did it actually take cryptocurrencies to go from being called a digital currency to being called a cryptocurrency? This whole roadmap, I actually, throughout my short crypto career, have been able to meet some of these people who are the original innovators and really the people that were trying to get cryptocurrency up off the ground. We have CoinMarketCap that has data on Bitcoin all the way back to 2013, okay? The market itself is relatively young, and I don't think it's ready yet for a lot of the opportunities that we've seen come and go. And proof would be in the fact that the opportunity didn't really last, okay? Now, whether this is a coin with some sort of technology behind it, or this is a coin with not a lot of technology behind it, If you set aside bias for a second, there's not a lot of technology behind a lot of these coins that is active and running. There's a lot of roadmap, there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of future use case, but a lot of these coins don't really have a lot of right now real world use, which is why it's still fighting the whole Bitcoin crypto itself a Ponzi. Since all the OGs and everybody who's invested in it, they've obviously got a bone in this. They're getting rich. They love it. Some of them claim to like the technology. Some of them don't. Some of them are just trying to get rich. That's why naturally those people, anytime something doesn't smell right to them, they have to point the finger because, again, to a degree, all of us are trying to shine the light on somebody else to take the spotlight off of ourselves. Bitcoin is still doing that. Bitcoin is still trying to shine the light on other cryptocurrencies that are a scam or don't look right, don't smell right, because it itself is still catching that shade, okay? Crypto is a small piece of a bigger puzzle, like I said earlier. This bigger puzzle is... This video actually is fun. This video actually is fear. I am essentially sharing fear, uncertainty, and doubt with you in this video. But these are real world things that I think we need to look at. There is a bigger economic collapse happening around us, which is the US dollar, whether it's correcting, collapsing, going away, one world currency rolling out. That is a conversation that used to, like 2012 when I was first getting into online, this was like a joke, right? This is like deep conspiracy theory. Now it turns out a lot more of this stuff is truer than we realized, okay? By 2020, the United States will be over $25 trillion in debt. There's never been a country that far in debt in the history of humanity. Also, too, we're coming up on 78 years of the currency lasting. A currency has never lasted 78 years. We are in highly uncharted territory right now. Our debt rate is through the roof, most of that being countries like China, which... Again, it's kind of funny, most of our debt's through China, yet we're trying to, like, what, go to war with China and Russia every other week. It doesn't really make sense, right? And that's all part of, maybe let's call it a bigger propaganda machine. So we have a lot of debt. We have a currency that is unsustainable right now. We face hyperinflation. And to a degree, we're seeing it roll out. You aren't feeling it because it's not happening fast. You're just noticing that your paycheck is the same, but it's getting you less and less each week. That is hyperinflation at play, but it's little by little, okay? Because anyone will accept something if it's in small doses. But if you hit them all at once, then they won't face it, okay? That's when you'll get mass rejection. So we have this much bigger problem at play here. And again, just playing hypothetical, if something were to happen there, that means immediately gold and silver are insanely valuable. We're talking like 100x, okay? So it goes from what, 1,300 to over 10,000 for a bar. Then cryptocurrencies also go through the roof too. So I think there's some things that not a lot of people are looking at, which is these wild cards that if they occur, if they happen, then we are talking about a hyperinflation in everything. The value of gold and precious metals would go through the roof. The value of numismatic coins would go through the roof. The value of any rare collection item would go through the roof. And the value of cryptocurrency would go through the roof at an exponential rate that I don't think anybody could really predict. That's the things that I don't see a lot of people talking about, especially in the crypto space. And I get it. It's not a safe conversation to be having. I'm taking a huge risk by talking about this because it opens up the floodgates of all these other sub-conspiracy theories, right? And it sounds like wild conjecture at best, but it's really not. There's a lot of people covering this, okay? First, you could go to Wikipedia itself, and you could find out about 1971, when Richard Nixon actually removed the gold-backed standard from the US dollar. A lot of people don't even know that is a thing. People don't realize that the Fed isn't part of the government. That happened in 1913, and that was the biggest banks who met up and basically decided to create the Federal Reserve. Most people don't know that's a thing. Thankfully, people like Mike Maloney in his series of videos back a couple years ago have shed a ton of light on that because it's gotten hundreds of millions of views now. But you can go and read up on the history of the US dollar right on Wikipedia. And all of that same stuff I just mentioned is listed there. I'll get into some things that are on the horizon that are very important, but here's another piece. Sovereign Man, I've actually been subscribed to them for a very long time. You know that if you're in the Crypto Junkie community, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years now. I've been a big part of this community, meaning that I subscribe, I read a lot of the content. Here's some pieces for you. This means that the national debt will exceed $25 trillion by September 30th, 2020. This is real numbers. This isn't conjecture. And this article brings up some really valid points that this year we have some important things coming up. We have the annual meeting of the IMF, which is not impossible mission for us. I know. It's actually the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank Group. The first meeting is on April 20th, and the second meeting is on August 12th through the 14th, which is going to be actually in Indonesia. Funny side note about that is most people don't recognize that Indonesia has become deeper and deeper in the pocket in the ally division, whatever you want to call that, with the United States, which is why so many things in Indonesia are matching and mirroring what's going on in America in terms of growth, in terms of just some of the rules and regulation. That's why they don't just randomly pick countries like this. Look at the normal location. Look at this. Washington, D.C., like 99.9% of the time. The fact that it's in Indonesia tells you that it's something significant. The meeting itself, I haven't been able to find too much information about, but the April 20th meeting has been talked about a few times, from anything from conspiracy theorists all the way down to like regular normal-headed people like Robert Kiyosaki. And this is going to be a very important meeting because some of the things that are going to be talked about and expressed is a lot of countries expressing their dislike with the amount of debt that the US currently has. Now, these pieces that I just pointed out, and you could go and find much more pieces outside of that, okay, is pointing to the possibility that what if something happens with the US dollar? Now, most people aren't going to say that they think it's going to happen this year, especially I was watching something with Robert Kiyosaki the other day, and they don't want to tell you the exact time that they think it's going to happen because they don't want to spread fear. I will say that when it does happen, there will be a huge shift. Back in the 80s, let's not forget, people like Warren Buffett, people like Robert Kiyosaki were able to leverage and borrow hundreds of millions of dollars and therefore make the equivalent of today modern day billions, okay? This is a huge difference between the average Joe, the regular guy like you and me, and guys who get stupid, filthy rich off of opportunities like this. Because it is not a if, it is a when. And the game that needs to be played right now for everybody is to shore up your protection, shore up your options for when this does happen. Because when it does happen, it's going to be like the entire world is on sale and whoever has the most amount of money will be able to buy it, because this will be a ripple effect that everyone will feel. Now, where 99% of people want to talk about, Jay, what do we do about water? And they want to talk about what I consider the dumb and the fear and it's going to be the end of the world and zombies. Dude, get past it. Let it go. Make a plan so that you don't have to sit here and spend 6 hours of podcasting talking about how we're going to get clean water and how you can drink your own piss. Make a better plan. If you look at everything we've been talking about, what are we doing as a community? Vaultoro, I talked about back in October. Buying gold with your crypto returns, with your crypto assets, diversification, right? It's laughable to me, some of the people that attempt to come at me because they fail to see that since some of my very first videos, I've been saying the same shit, which sounds like catchphrases at this time. Diversification and mitigation of risk. How do you do that? You shore up your assets in different areas, okay? So if the dollar collapses, what's the first things to go through the roof? Digital currency, precious metals. It'd probably be precious metals first. Because what people will go and liquidate is gold and silver to buy the bread, to buy the water. Okay, so while guys are trying to build bunkers under their house, yeah, I'm not saying that's a dumb idea. Why not just get some precious metals though too? All of that is like, when I look at the cause and effect of it, I look at, okay, all I really got to do is come over here and get gold and silver. And I'm kind of all the like the granular little problems that then exist immediately solved because I have the big piece taken care of. So small levers swing big doors. So what are those pieces that pack the strongest punch? Precious metals, okay? And that's why I'm beating the drum of that since the very get-go. Now, what are we doing as a community? We're doing Mint Builder. Mint Builder does what? It does numismatic coins and it does precious metals, gold and silver. You can not only buy them cheap, but you can also get on a program where it sends it to your door, auto ship program every single month. You can bring people into it. You can get cryptocurrency out of it. Enough said. At the end of the day, the first thing that we need in terms of diversification is precious metals. Okay, so precious metals is like your liquidate right now, need money. Also, too, I'd store some offsite, which is why I use Vaultoro. That's my piggy bank after I liquidate. And let's say I'm in it, right? This has happened. I'm in the depth of it. That is then my second piece. That is my maybe 90 to 200 day strategy and a lot of my cash flow, right? That I would then need because I would just liquidate that's in storage. Then you've got something like numismatic coins. You've got something like rare art, rare coins, any of that, right? That is like your, what is my 10 to 15 year down the road plan in a normal economy. But if again, shit hit the fan and you needed to liquidate, you could. Digital cryptocurrencies, those play a big role as well. And again, it's not just holding Bitcoin, it's holding top 5, top 10, top 50, a little bit spread across, okay? Holding that index is such a big piece. And again, I think a lot of people forget that because they're so deep in crypto and they're into the drama now and like, is Roger Ver really ruining Bitcoin? And set all that aside for a second. Focus on your plan. We can't deny that we are facing uncertainty. It is very uncertain times, whether it's going to be this year, whether these big IMF meetings actually are going to be substantial or not. One thing is sure, that we are accumulating trillions of dollars of debt at the most rapid pace that we ever have. So whatever that means, whatever ends up happening to the US dollar, we need to be protected. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. How we do that is we start to spread out our pieces. And again, like I said, I think most people are missing this. They're falling for the drama. They're falling for the get rich quick, which we're all guilty of. These are primal things. These are innate human things, right? And they're missing the big picture, which is that start building up a precious metal storage. Start building up cryptocurrency top 5, top 10 portfolio. It really is that simple. This is what all the big players are doing right now. They're just doing it at a bigger scale. Right now, they're shoring up their assets. Because I hate to say it, when you go to a bank outside of the United States, you don't show up with your credit rating and your credit report and your last 12 months earning and a bank account. You show up with a list of assets. That's how the rest of the world operates. And what's going to happen when these things start to occur, and it won't be overnight. I think it'll definitely be a slow decline where it just continues to go slow and go slow and go slow and go slow and go slow all the way down. When this happens, the guys who have been working right now, as you and me are watching and talking through this video, they're out there working diligently, building this up. They will be in prime position to leverage and borrow hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, and scoop up pennies on the dollar, whatever they want. Those are going to be the biggest guys. What we see out of this next economic, whatever you want to call it, will be the biggest wealth transfer in the history of mankind. And I know that's been said, right? Like, there's been people that have been beating that drum since maybe 2012, 2013. And so it's worn itself out a little bit. It's 2018, 4 or 5 years, people are like, oh, well, I'm still alive, so I guess you're wrong and you're an idiot. That's not necessarily true. It's just taken longer for this to play out. And if, again, we remember that there's the micro and the macro, and you got to really get good at playing this as the game it is. Life is a game, okay? And the guys who win are the ones who figure out how to play it the best. So we've got this micro game of cryptocurrency going on, and Bitcoin, it's up, it's down, what's happening, technical analysis, and is it this, and there's fundamentals, and then there's news. But then there's this bigger game that's layered on top of it, which is the economic situation in the US and globally that's stacked on top of that, and that little game is playing its play. And we have all these layers in between that are all affecting and pulling at each other. Like, that to think about, I believe, is overwhelming for most people. We have to make a plan, and you have to work that plan. Remember, this is starting to sound like probably 15 other videos that I've got on here. It's so easy to get stuck in the mud, get arguing over the drama, and get so zoomed in that you forget about the big picture. I will tell you that there's going to be a ton of calls that I make that are wrong, but in the end, I will win. And it's simply because there's enough things that I'm doing, enough of the big pieces that I'm doing, and what will end up being the little things, those will flush themselves out. Like, in the overall broad scheme of things, at the end of the year, this year, next year, moving forward, my losses will be outweighed by my wins. You know, I'll win more than I lose. You can't avoid losses. I think it's a bit silly. You need to recognize that they do happen. There'll be some big ones. There'll be some ones that stretch you beyond what you think is possible, which you can handle. And ultimately, you'll have some really big wins. And the territory that we're moving towards and the speed in which we're going as a society is just technological advances are happening. These little tiny pieces are the same things that the big players are doing. They're just doing it with more amounts of money. So no matter where you're starting, make that plan. Start to diversify some of that money out of just crypto. Do not have everything sitting in crypto. Do not put your life savings in it. Do not put your life savings into one thing within it, and continue to zoom out and have that macro perspective. All right, my friends, that's all I've got for you in this video. If you're brand new to the channel and you like what we're doing here, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notifications so that you don't miss out on any future uploads, and be on the lookout because we're constantly putting new content on the channel And we'll see you very soon in some future training. See ya. And so going back to, you know, we're all stuck in the mud right now in crypto. And now that we've got some examples of what is a scam, we can point the finger and say that's, well, that sucks.